I was like getting a little excited because Mercury retrograde's almost over, but I just want y'all to know that I'm about to record this intro for the second time because I didn't press record. And if you guys have been hanging out with me for a while, you know for some reason I'm always struggling with recording during these Mercury retrogrades. To be honest with you, I'm struggling even getting this out. But we are towards the end of the retrograde. A couple of the personal planets are finishing up their rotation through Pisces. Mercury is kind of lagging behind because he was retrograde. Venus is already starting her astrological new year over in Aries. The new year might start during Capricorn season, but when you really start to feel fresh and brand new, it's Aries season. If you've never seen me before, I'm Sammy. I'm at Infinity Aura Ave, where I just do a bunch of cool stuff for your aura. And what I come here to chat with y'all twice a month about is the astrology. I like to meet with you on the new moon and the full moon so we can talk about the astrology before, after, get ready for what's going on. TikTok and YouTube get the full video. I personally think it looks the best on YouTube. Instagram usually just gives me 3 minutes and I get the reels. Last time I couldn't even get the reel out because I was knee deep in Mercury retrograde and I was having so much trouble. The time before that, it was already Mercury retrograde. And what happened? I didn't have any sound. I didn't have any sound. Listen, I don't know how you guys are feeling, but Mercury retrograde, Mercury in Pisces already is tough for me. It's not going to be the same for everybody because everybody's chart is different, but Mercury retrograde in Pisces, I was just dreading it. It's just a tough retrograde. I think the only thing that would really compare for some other people would be Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, but I have Mercury in Sagittarius, so sometimes it's really not so bad for me. Anyway, let's bring up the table. And if you've been hanging out with me the last couple times, I've been doing this a little bit different. I backed the chart up a couple days and we'll move the planets through the table so that we could talk about the astrology a little bit before the moon event that we're meeting for. And then I'll go through to the next moon event and then I pick up with you guys on the next meeting. So the chart I have on here today is actually today. So I'm filming this March 13th and March 15th, I'm sorry, March 15th. And I'm gonna pick up pretty much here. I'm actually going to back up one day and the chart's pretty much the same. The reason I want to back up one day is because, you know what? We'll just move it. We'll just move it. We'll just move it. We're going to start on the 14th. Okay. We're going to start with yesterday from when I'm filming this. The reason why I want to start on the 14th is because Mars conjoins Mercury and the moon conjoins Pluto. So there's something that goes on here on the 14th that is kind of emotionally transforming you to step into this new cycle, right? Because the moon is moving into a new moon. Mars and Mercury here, the North Node is really close too, so I'm just going to call them all together. Mars and Mercury here conjoined with the North Node is so Mercury's still retrograde, right? So we're reviewing, we're looking over things, we're kind of ironing out these miscommunications that we've had. Mars was in Aquarius and kind of operating a little bit differently than Mercury. So Mercury is trying to have these communications and Mars is trying to do things and they're not really aligning because they're just not really seeing eye to eye. So Mars moves into Pisces and things kind of start to move in the same direction. Now you have to remember Pisces is like, even with the communication, it's not so direct. It's very vibey. So it's intuitive. Maybe the words are not coming out exactly how you want them to, but the energy is still there trying to describe these things. And then Mars comes in and kind of catches up and is kind of like ready to finally do something about it, especially hitting the North Node here. Mars wants to progress, move forward. Now, in Pisces, he has to operate a little bit differently. He's not necessarily charging as usual. We'll get that when he enters Aries in a couple weeks. But Mars in Pisces is more just kind of like feeling his way through things, which is not really how Mars does stuff. But if you're working with your intuition and you have that already, it might be a little bit easier for you. So in one day, you can see we're going to look at the 15th now, which is today. By the time I get this out, it's probably going to be like Monday night-ish. I want to get it out before Tuesday because there's a lot of stuff that goes down with the moon on Tuesday. So as you can see, the moon just moves a little bit on Monday, which is today. Not too much going on too differently from the 14th. The 14th is kind of the bigger day. On the 16th, The moon enters Pisces, but these planets are a little bit ahead. So when he enters in here, he's not technically conjoined, but he is kind of joining the party. And then we get into Tuesday when he starts to hit all these planets. I'm going to give you some times too, and they're going to be Eastern Standard Time. So adjust. So moon hits the north node first, and that's going to be, I have my notes over here. That's why I'm looking over here. It's going to be around 10:30 in the morning on Monday, right? Then about 11:30, he hits Mercury. Mercury's next. And then about, what is it? 3:30 later on in the evening, afternoon-ish, um, he hits Mars. She hits Mars, I should say. Moon in Pisces again, this is feeling intuitively. This is just kind of riding out the wave. The moon does well in Pisces, and then hits the north node. This is just kind of feeling your way through what is the next step. Then moon hits Mercury. You might have a little bit more of an idea, like the ideas start to come towards you, right? Now, Mercury's still retrograde. So, what does that mean? We're not looking at brand new ideas. We're looking at the things that we've learned during the Mercury retrograde, how to progress with them and move forward, and how they also relate to our emotions because the moon is here. Then by 3:30, I said the moon hits Mars. Moon Mars transits when they're conjunct are kind of tricky just because the moon is kind of harsh. And no, Mars, sorry. Mercury retrograde is just, I can't get these words out. The Mars is kind of harsh and the moon is soft, right? So when they meet, sometimes they kind of bump heads a little bit. But here with the other planets, the way that I see this is because you've just dealt with those emotions and kind of like putting together the pieces emotionally with that Mercury retrograde as far as where we have to go next. Because you have to remember the next day. The next day, we have the new moon in Pisces. This is a brand new cycle, but it's also the end because we're in the end degrees of the last sign. So you might feel like you have all this emotion built up inside of you surrounding these events and you have to do something. Mars and Pisces sometimes is not sure exactly what to do right away, right? So you kind of have to feel through this and take it slow because if you try to do what Mars likes to do, quick, fast action, it could be a little bit too much, right? So I want to be able to personally use this energy for the new moon, right? These planets are leading up to bring you into this new cycle, this new moon. We're dropping off a lot of things here, right? Because what happens is the moon goes dark. From the full moon, the moon is its biggest and it has to get small, right? So in the process, you're dropping off a lot of things on the way, right? And then when you get to the new moon, that's when it's like I'm ready to see where this new cycle has to go. And this new moon I think is really big. It's in the last degrees. If you notice, it's in the decan that's ruled by Mars. This is a new plan of action. You need to look to the houses that Pisces rules in your chart. You need to look to the house that Pisces rules in your chart to really understand what you're dealing with here. But, and the end degrees Pisces. So this is a brand new plan of action. And it's not just the end of a cycle from this full moon. You're also looking at the end of the cycle that you started when Aries season started last year. And this new moon, I didn't even give you the time. It happens at 9:24 p.m. So you have all of Tuesday, right, to go through this like almost like a realization of what this Mercury retrograde has been about, what you need to do about it, and kind of not really hold on to it, but like take note of what is really unfolding in front of you. And then you have all of Wednesday to also harness that energy. And then the new moon hits at night. Because all of this is going on, I usually do tell people like when you're working with the new or the full moon, you have about 2 days before, 2 days after. I really, really want you to look at the Tuesday and the Wednesday and then take some time, if you can, Wednesday night to really evaluate what the plan of action should be for the next year. Not only that, after that, the moon still is going to takes 2 days to go through sign. So the moon still is going to take its time. It's going to hit Neptune, it's going to hit Saturn, and it's going to hit Venus in the next day or two. That is also a lot of energy, but you kind of want to know what the direction is by that time, right? Because we have Neptune and Saturn that's moved into Aries, and these are longer transits, and this is about you and where you're headed. It becomes more personal than when things were in Pisces. That was more about the collective. By Friday, the moon's past all these planets. When it hits Venus too, that's kind of like a for me, that's like a turning point of a lot of this energy. This is a sweet spot. Moon and Venus do well together. In Aries, neither one of them are really having a great time. So it could be like a little bit of like I've looked at all of this and I want it now. And you could get like a little frustrated. But you have to remember that these are longer term goals that you're looking at with these transits. This is not like next week I'm going to try to do this. You're looking at bigger stuff than that here, right? So Friday, by the time Friday comes, is it Friday? Yes. By the time Friday comes, Friday is the first day of spring, technically. The sun moves into Aries. The moon will be past a lot of this stuff, and Mercury retrograde is over. Listen, with a lot of this stuff, Pisces rules like the depths of the soul. So a lot of this stuff over the past few weeks has been really deep. Mercury retrograde's been going on. It's been really hard. And the reason that I like astrology is because first of all, I'm under the same astrology as you, right? I came on here and I was like, guys, I'm covered in mercury dust. I'm not immune to it just because I know what's going on. But because I know what's going on, I know that come March 20th, there's a little bit of relief. Things start to shift, morale's a little bit higher. You're going to be a little bit more excited for these new things that you have going on. Over the next 30 days, the sun hits a lot of these planets. I told you with Neptune and Saturn in here, this is really looking at yourself and where you have to go next and what the personal goals are. And I do think that a lot of that starts to take off. So if you've been working on some stuff, like you had that whole new year, new me, I'm going to do this and that, and you've been kind of like chipping away at it, but it's been frustrating, especially like the last few weeks, and you don't know what the heck is going on. This is a turning point. I'm going to take the moon off here for a second because the moon is moves a little bit faster, and I'm going to talk about the next 10 days between because there's not a lot of like big vibe shifts that happen from the 20th to the 30th. But the energy does move in a different direction, right? Because Mercury is literally moving in a different direction. He's starting to move through Pisces, working through some of those things on the other side. A lot of those issues have been kind of like I would say acknowledged, not really worked out, and then you start to see a little bit of things unfold a little bit differently as Mercury goes through Pisces. But you still have to understand Mercury does not do well in Pisces in the first place, right? So Mercury, if you're trying to communicate so literally with words while Mercury is in Pisces, that's not the way to do it. It is, like I said, more vibey, right? You have to really keep that into consideration because if you're saying things and they're just being misunderstood in general, not even because it's Mercury retrograde's over, but just because Mercury is in Pisces and that's just not the way to communicate in that instance, it's still going to be frustrating. So you have to move through this a little bit differently when Mercury is in Pisces, whether it's retrograde or not. The same thing with Mars. So you're going to be feeling like, okay, I'm ready, right? I've gone through this. I looked at everything. I kind of understand what I've been through, and I'm ready to move forward in a big way. But Mars is just not there yet either. Mars is hanging out still in Pisces, has quite a few. When does Mars get out of Pisces? Hold on, I have a board over here. It's not until after the full moon. So I'm going to see you again. Mars will still be in Pisces, and then that's when like the action starts, right? Everything is kind of just like mental and feeling and understanding right now. And then when Mars moves into Aries as well, that's when the action starts. Not only that, the sun is moving through over here with these planets in here, and this is kind of like reevaluating who you have to be to get through this next level. This is not just like what I want to do. You can't just decide I'm going to change all this stuff and not change yourself, right? And what has to come with that. So you're looking at a lot of that stuff too over the next 30 days because that's how long the sun is going to be in here. At least the next 15 days while the sun catches up through here. And when I say catches up, I mean moves past these planets. So we're going to fast forward about 10 days here because, like I said, not a lot changes through the chart, even though there are slight vibe shifts. The 30th is when Venus moves into Taurus. I like this. Venus in Taurus is sweet, sensual, more patient. Venus in Aries is a little rough because she wants what she wants and she wants it right now. And when she's not getting it, especially because she's in this house that she's not really that comfortable in, she's frustrated. So when she moves into Pisces, she's feeling a little bit more. I mean, when she moves into Taurus, she's feeling a little bit more secure and safe. There is a tendency to overindulge, Venus and Taurus. Be careful of overeating, oversleeping, over comfort, right? Too much is still a bad thing. As you can see by then, Mars is also in the final degrees of Pisces, not quite moving into Aries because, like I said, that's going to happen after the full moon, which is on April 1st. So it's literally like a week and a couple days later that Mars is still going to be in here. But as he gets closer to Aries, he's like kind of like ramping up to do what he's got to do next. So like you start to see a little bit of movement because I've told you guys before these lines is they're not hard lines. That's why Mars rules the last decan of Pisces because like the movement is picking up a little bit more. As far as Mercury, he's still going to be in post shadow until April 10th. So you're still looking at these Mercury retrograde things through April 10th. Did I say March? Dude. I'm having so much trouble getting the right words out during this Mercury retrograde. I can't wait till this is over. I can't wait till Mercury. I can't wait till Mercury is out of Pisces. Um, anyway, so you have until about April 10th to still iron those things out. It's going to be smoother as long as you've worked with the Mercury retrograde instead of fought the Mercury retrograde, right? Which like most people, once you start to look at this stuff, you almost realize like a lot of the times you're already on track. It just kind of helps to know, like I said, that the energy is going to move. Like it's never you're never just like this too shall pass. That's really what astrology is. You can look at this too shall pass. Okay, but when? Okay, but when? The astrology will let you know. And then on April 1st, we've got the full moon in Libra. And that's when I'll catch up with you guys. I've been telling you guys for a little while February is going to be tough. I probably should have said also March just because it started like towards the end of February, well, middle of February, but it carried through till March. There's a lot of relief that comes in the end of March as Mercury goes direct, as everything starts to move into Aries. You start to feel like you're ready to do life again. There is a lot of focus on the self during Aries season, but also a lot of people will take that as a bad thing, but it's not really like it's also the self in relation to others, right? Because when we get to the full moon, we're talking about Libra and we're talking about relationships. And when I say relationships, like I always tell you guys, I'm not just talking about romantic. You have a relationship with everything. I've got a relationship with this table, this wand. You got a relationship with your phone. We have a little internet relationship together because I've been here. We've been doing this, been over a year now. If you're new and you haven't been here with me through the year, welcome. I hope this was helpful. I have a new offering that's pretty much only available right now to book on Instagram, but I'm probably going to put it on TikTok too. It's a service where I'll go over the next couple months with you guys through to July. And we'll do an intention candle. If you're online, I'll make the intention candle for you and ship it out to you. If you're local and you want to come down to the studio and make it yourself, you can do that too. You won't find that on my website because, like I said, I've only posted it on Instagram. You have to book through DM. I'm going to post it on TikTok. You can probably book through DM there too. I'll make it available to you guys. I do have now one product in the TikTok shop, But I have everything that you see here behind me and a couple other things that you don't see because they're over here on my website on infinityauraavenue.com. I've got cool spiritual merch. I've got a hat that I'm really excited I'm going to get out for the spring. I know you guys are waiting for one of those hoodies. I talked about it on TikTok, but we're gonna see if I'm gonna get this out this year too. I've been promising this one hoodie for a while, but it's just me. It's just me here making this stuff. I make everything except the jewelry. And some of the products I have clean skincare products that I source from other places. I have tinctures that I source from somewhere else, but the majority of the things I do make myself, beauty products, merch, and just cool stuff for your aura. So check it out, infinityauraavenue.com. I hope this was helpful. I will see you next time for the full moon in Libra, which is going to be April 1st. So I'll see you like the day before or whatever. You can also book a regular reading with me through my website. And we'll typically do like a year for that, but I'll also pull tarot cards if we need to. Sometimes we don't get through the whole year. That's a little bit of a different service. It's more intuitive than structured like this service that I'm offering on Instagram for the next 3 months. And that's it. I'm gonna get out of here so I can edit this video for you guys tomorrow and have it out before Thursday because you know me, I'll just yap. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm Sammy. I'm at Infinity Aura Avenue, and I'll see you next time. Bye.